You ever drop something and it just vanishes? Like it goes into some weird pocket dimension? It happens to change all the time. Like I'll drop change and I'll hear it hit the floor, like make a ping, but then it's like it vanishes. It's no longer in this plane of existence. I always sing Unchained by Van Halen. Change hits the ground and vanishes. I'm playing Diablo this morning because I'm still playing it. I rolled up a Necro character, low level one, along with my regular Demon Hunter character. Because when you get, it's like this in any game. When you start to advance into the higher levels or get into what's considered the end game content, you kind of run out of things to do. Or you can do things, but a lot of them are time locked, or it's not as fun. The rewards aren't quick. You're not getting that dopamine hit. That's really all it is. It's that dopamine blast of being able to, like, finish something or get some stuff. So I rolled up a lower level character and just plowing through the early levels. That's the most fun. I don't know how long I'll play this one. I'm usually playing at least one game. Something that, in case of emergency break glass, I can just kind of get my mind out of this, and go right to something. Of course, I never use it in that manner. It's more something I do all day long, on and off. So whether that's good or not, I don't know. But as I'm playing it, there's these points where you'll be on your own kind of mission, like you'll be doing, like, I don't know, a quest or something with your character. And when you get into an area where someone else is doing one too, you kind of see an outline of their quest objectives. Like, say we both go into an area where we both have to kill this certain monster, right? I'll be able to see mine very clearly, right? But I'll just kind of see a ghostly outline of his. And same thing with him. He'll see his very clearly, but he'll just see a ghostly outline of his. And it reminded me of, this place, and how I always say there are more things taking up the spaces around us than just the people we can see. It's on a different frequency. Everything's frequency. We're tuned into a certain frequency to be able to see the people and the things on our frequency, and others are tuned to see people and the things that they're attuned to, but they take place in the same spot. So, like, in the same space could be a lot of other people, a lot of other things, and that's where you have the demonic entity situation too, where they're just everywhere. Roger and KC. But yeah, it's funny how art imitates life, and vice versa. It does that a lot. A lot of times people think it's like predictive programming, or it's put in there. It's not put in there a lot of times. It's not guys in a back room determining this kind of thing. Actually, what the fuck am I saying? There are guys in back rooms determining. But not for everything, not on a wide scale. Sometimes it just comes out in the art. Art, being game design or music or whatever creative expression you're using, taps in that divine energy, that God energy, that God stuff. And that's how it comes out. Because it's coming from the same well, the same shared consciousness. And it's like it's basically sending messages to you. Like, look, you see this? That's like this. Not all messages you get are something nefarious or evil. There is that kind of messaging the beast system. I think what happened is when this place was hijacked or converted, the beast system was added on top of the regular system here. The regular system being the setup as it was to do what it was supposed to do with, in regards to being some sort of training area or school area. The beast system was then laid on top of it, or put in it somehow. This is just my theory anyway. But they both leak the same way. And by leak, I mean things will just come through incidentally. Things like, the frequency thing I mentioned this morning, where you'll see something in art, or you'll see something in a, whatever, video game, film, movie, anything that's creative. You'll see something in that. Just automatically. It just does that autonomously. It's really the truth coming through. Like, even if it's even if it's like an evil thing, it's still showing you how it really happens. Like what is really up. It's truth. It's like just the thing about truth. It's like you can obfuscate it for a while, but it doesn't matter how many cinder blocks you tie on the body. It's eventually going to float up to the top, or a piece of it will, or you'll get a watch or something like that. It comes up. It can't stay down forever. And that's good. And that's a good thing. Kind of chilled out Friday here. I was thinking too about the creative process and how Hollywood always gets pointed out as being creatively bankrupt, and they redo a lot of the same things, and it is because evil can't create, it can only mimic. So a lot of these people that are tied into the anti-divinity energy, they can't create themselves. And I don't know, I got to thinking about Bob Dylan, and he's always so lauded as being this great songwriter and great lyricist, and I never really got into him. I've always been drawn to singers and the voice, and with him it's just like, yeah. Because too, I think, with my whole life, he always gets memed on. So when I hear him, it's just like, I just think of the fucking memes. But I was just watching something with him in it the other day, and they were talking about his lyrical prowess and the songs he writes. And I don't know why, but something just jumped out to me, and it just said to me, he doesn't write any of that. He's just an actor, just a guy they use to, like every one of these kind of entertainment situations, whether it's a movie or a lot of music business. And I'm like, someone else wrote that. Someone else writes this stuff. He gets this from someone else. Now there's a whole field of study behind, and I don't want to get too into it, but it's about, well, I mean, I did already about the Tavistock Institute, where it's like a think tank that tried to steer, or does steer, pop culture in some manner, and they were, it's alleged that they wrote songs for most of the major artists from the 1960s all the way up, maybe even earlier than that, and it still goes on today, obviously. But I didn't, it's hard to tell who's who. I mean, there are bands that have been documented. By different researchers. That Laurel Canyon crew, all their parents were high-ranking military people. or worked in like special programs. Jim Morrison's dad was an admiral. He was the guy that kicked off the Vietnam War with the Gulf of Tonkin incident, which was by all information out there seemed to be a false flag. Wouldn't surprise me. But Mamas and Papas, Neil, not Neil Young, Neil Young's band there, the three other guys, oh my god, Crosby, Stills and Nash, like that whole crew, and it comes out of Laurel Canyon. There's some books on it, and I mentioned that whole thing before, but yeah, so it has precedent where some of these artists are just like the figurehead or the avatar, and the material is written for them. And I don't know, something just said, he's not writing this shit. And when you look at Bob Dylan, and the kind of guy he is, I don't think he would have that divine spark. I don't think he taps into the shared consciousness. I don't know if he has an inner dialogue. I don't know if he can envision an apple in his head. I don't know what his imagination situation is. He may have had it, maybe at one point, and by virtue of the fact he had to become who he was, or whoever he was involved with, maybe he was cut off from that divinity. I don't know. I'm going to look into that, though, because it just told me. Sometimes you're just told things. And a lot of times when I've looked into these messages I would get, it would always seem to be pretty spot on. And it sounds weird when you tell people, and this whole thing, all this area of study sounds completely weird. But when you're like, yeah, I get messages, the way I get them, it's not like some mystical thing, like, there's a light in my mind. It's not. It's almost like none of the stuff I've experienced that would be considered supernatural, even to interacting with entities and stuff, it never feels supernatural or mystical in any way. And most of the time, you're only aware that it was such an event after the fact. So in that same way, I pick up these messages about things in a way that feels like I already known them. Because chances are, it's certain I already did. You know the answer to everything already. You have it written into your DNA, helix. Every question, every answer, it's all there. So yeah, a lot of times something will appear in my mind, but I won't know the moment it appears. I'll pick up on it like later, like, oh yeah, that's because of this, or the reason this happens is because of that. And I'll be cognizant of the fact that, well, I never really thought of that, I didn't work that out, but somehow I know that to be true. It just was like placed in my mind at some point. Because it's there. And I've been doing a lot of sort of, not really experimentation yet, but I've been looking into studying the relationship between yourself, the electric energy being that you are, and that you're using a small portion of yourself to broadcast here to these antennas in the shape of human bodysuits. And the more I look into it over the years, the more I feel the mind, not really the mind, the brain really doesn't have much to do with you. It just basically runs the suit. The limbic system, the nerve endings, it basically helps you to feel and move things. But it doesn't affect much of what you are. Like I said before, like if you were to suddenly get crushed by a rock or something, or hit by a train, in the next moments you would probably be like, holy shit, what the fuck just happened? You'd be the same person, you'd be thinking the same things, but you wouldn't be in the body, because you are not that body. So the reason why I think it's worth looking into the relationship between the brain in you is because of the whole mental health field, which I've been involved in as a patient for many, many years. When I first came into it, I was very open about treatment. I figured, well, these guys went to school for this stuff. I didn't know anything back then. And as time went on, it began to show more and more that it doesn't really have a lot to do with science, because it can't, as far as mental health. They can't hook you up to a machine, really, to see a lot of these ailments. You know, they can see degradation of the brain, or centers of the brain that are being stimulated, or you know, eroded, or whatever it is, but they can't make a determination as to a specific diagnosis based on anything that would normally be used for, say, the body, like bones or the anatomy or anything like that. Its diagnosis is based on observation and patient feedback, and that's it. Family history plays a part as well. Like, one of my diagnoses is, well, a couple of them, I had family members that on both sides of the family that had a certain ailment, mental health ailment. So right away that like gives you like almost a 90% sure shot, like, oh yeah, well then, you know, this is what you got. It's not very scientific, but if I could establish some kind of working, you know, for my satisfaction anyway, some kind of relationship between the mind and the brain and what you are yourself, you could really look at things in a new way. It'd be interesting to kind of figure that out. So I'm just in the beginning of trying to do that, but see how it goes. I have to fold that into my Diablo Immortals time. Don't blame the teacher, blame the school.